Good morning, Mr. Shaskelson.
Morning, Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Maleka.
Morning, Chairperson. Chairperson, is it possible for me to just introduce my colleagues? Because yesterday when we knocked off, I was shouted at to say Mr. Martin brought my colleagues and I didn't introduce them to the commission. So,
right.
Chairperson, I'm joined by...
Just a minute, and good morning to you too, Sergeant-nkosi.
Good morning, my honorable commissioners.
Good morning. Yes, Mr. Maleka.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Thank you. Chairperson and commissioners, I'm joined by Mr. Lirutla on my far left, and I'm also joined by Ms. Mashatane, who's sitting just behind the secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maleka, but I thought your team looked much better yesterday when you had a woman as part of it. Yes, Mr. Shaskelson.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning, good morning.
Sergeant, yesterday we spent some time dealing with the TMPD Tender 1 of 24-25. That was the land allocation tender, the tender for security services relating to the policing of city land. And it's called the land tender or the demolition tender. You recall that?
That's correct.
Now, on Wednesday, I had shown you a list of prices and bidders that you sent to Mr. Mampani. It's on page 980. Maybe if we can go to 980.
Which file is that?
File 3. At 980. You have it?
I have it.
And you recall that this is the list that you sent to Mr. Mampani on the 30th of April 2025. You recall that?
I recall.
And now, if we go back to 980, I need to correct something that I put to you on Wednesday, because I put something to you in error on Wednesday. If you look at the heading on page 980, you'll see that it doesn't relate to Tender 1 of 24-25, which was the tender we discussed yesterday. It relates to Tender 3 of 24-25. You see that?
Correct.
So this was not a list of bidders and prices for the land or demolition tender. It was a list of bidders or prices for a different tender. It was, in fact, a list of bidders or prices for an ad hoc security services tender. Were you aware of that?
That's correct.
And the ad hoc security services is an arrangement where the city appoints providers to a panel, and then as and when they have an immediate need for security services, they call a provider from the panel to provide those services. Is that correct?
I don't have any knowledge about that.
I see, but you did send this list to Mr. Mampani.
That's correct.
So what did you know about the list when you sent it to Mr. Mampani?
As I said earlier, that I sent to Mr. Mampani because of he had an interest on it, because of he also applied.
Sorry, he had an interest in it? I didn't hear your answer.
That's correct.
Did he explain what his interest was?
He also applied for a tender.
And what was his company?
Okay, let me just check. It's ADW. Let me just check, be sure.
Can I read out a list of names to you, and maybe you can identify it from the list of names that I read out, if it's one of these? Can I give you a list of names, and if one of these is a security company belonging to Mr. Mampani, will you tell me? Ramalepe Security. Is that his company? Ramalepe. It's not this list, it's a much shorter list than this one. This one runs to, well, possibly hundreds.
No, I don't know about that. I wanna comment on the exact name that I know that it belongs to him because of it is.
Well, let me read the names that I have, and if it is one of those names, say yes. If it isn't, say no. Sergeant?
Yes?
So the first one was Ramalepe. You don't recognize that as his company?
Ramulepe?
Yes.
No.
Seputwe?
No.
Izingwenya?
No.
Mabotwani?
No.
Both Best Security?
No.
Both Best.
Both best.
Both Best, yes. No?
No.
Piri Piri?
Piri Piri?
Yes.
No.
Do you know whose company Piri Piri is? No. Ulitsaki?
No.
Now, Triotic we've spoken about previously. That was a company associated with Mr. Modise. You recall?
That's correct.
Mr. Mampani doesn't have an interest in Triotic.
I would not know.
You don't know that. Vugi Security, VHUGI?
What security?
Vugi, VHUGI?
I don't know.
Raite, R-A-I-T-E?
I don't know.
Gubis, does he have an interest in Gubis?
I don't know.
You don't know. NEP Security, NEP.
NEP. Yeah. Mampane's one, it might be NVP, not NEP.
NVP.
Yeah, NVP.
You think NVP? It's a three-letter name like that.
Yes.
And is that his only security company?
According to me.
The only one that you know? Okay. Did you know whether Mr. Mampani's security company was already providing ad hoc security services to the city?
No, I did not know.
No, you didn't know, or no, it wasn't?
I did not know.
You did not know. Now, what I'm going to put to you, you may or may not know, but these are the facts, that the ad hoc security services that the city was receiving were being provided in terms of an old tender that had expired on 28 February 2025. Were you aware of that when you sent this 2 months later in April? That there had been a tender which was a 3-year tender, and the 3 years ended on the 28th of February 2025?
No.
You weren't. And that tender was being extended on a month-to-month basis while this new tender, TMPD 3 of 2024-25, was being adjudicated.
You mean after it expired?
After it expired. Well, you didn't know that it had expired, so you wouldn't know that it was being extended on a month-to-month basis. What was interesting to me is Mr. Mampani's, well, before we get to Mr. Mampani's response, When we looked at this list on Wednesday, you said that this was a public document that you sent to Mr. Mampani.
That's correct.
In fact, it was not a public document. It was an internal city document relating to a tender process that was still ongoing at the time. Were you not aware of that?
No, according to me, this was advertised and cancelled.
Yes, when was it cancelled?
I can't remember.
Well, the facts will show that it was cancelled on the 29th of October 2025. So on the 30th of April, when you sent it, it hadn't been cancelled. But let's see why it was cancelled. You sent it to Mr. Mampani on the 30th of April, and that appears at page 930, well, it starts on 932, and the list is so long that it goes all the way down to it finishes on 935. So if we can go to 935. You'll see that at the top of the page of 935 is the last few items on that list.
Okay.
And it's also got the date and time where you sent it to Mr. Mampani. It was 11:56 on the 30th of April. And you see that shortly after he received it at 11:59, he called you back. That was chat 2. And at 12:04, you called him back. Then at 12:54, he said to you, Buti, please let him say no to that appointment, please. How did you understand that request from Mr. Mampani?
I can't remember.
Well, let me put to you how I understand it. He's saying, let him, and the him, it seems to me, is Mr. Mnisi, the CFO, say no to that appointment. He's saying, tell Mr. Mnisi not to make an appointment on tender 3 of 2024-25. Was that not what he was saying?
Mr. Mampane never met with Mr. Mnisi, according to me, and they don't know each other.
Well, who had the power to make this appointment?
I don't know.
Was it not Mr. Mnisi who was chairing the bid adjudication committee and who would make whatever recommendation was ultimately implemented by the city manager in relation to this tender?
I don't know.
Well, as a matter of fact, it was Mr. Mnisi who had the power to make the recommendation that was ultimately to be implemented by the city manager in relation to this tender. And you know that this tender was cancelled, do you not?
That's correct.
It was cancelled on the 29th of October. And it was cancelled pursuant to a recommendation made by Mr. Mnisi. Did you know that?
No.
Did you speak to Mr. Mnisi or to General Dlamini in relation to this tender after Mr. Mampani said, please let him say no to that appointment?
I can't remember.
But Mr. Mampani was making a very specific request to you after you'd sent him a whole list of bidders, bid prices in relation to a pending tender for which he had applied. You don't recall what you did in relation to his specific request?
To answer that, Commissioner, I would not say please let him say no to that appointment, because we talk a lot, with Mambane. So I cannot align his statement with this, what I've sent him. But I could remember that earlier before I could send him, he just phoned me that he heard that the tender had been cancelled.
Sorry, you say he heard that the tender had been cancelled before he sent you this message, or afterwards? Or
If I could recall, yes.
well, that's not possible because the tender was only cancelled 6 months after he sent you that message. So you couldn't have heard it had been cancelled, hadn't been cancelled. It was still alive.
Yes, I'm just saying that there are possibilities because the reason I would send him this, it is on those bases.
But if he knew that the tender had, well, he couldn't have known that the tender had been cancelled because it hadn't. So that couldn't have been the situation. You accept that? He couldn't have known that the tender had been cancelled because, as a matter of fact, it had not been cancelled by that stage.
I cannot comment on that.
And if he thought that the tender...
Mr. Chairperson, sorry. Sergeant, you have to be able to comment. You've been given dates, and maybe this is where I should express my concern about how you've been giving answers that you don't remember things since yesterday, even the most obvious ones. You've just been given dates. The tender, as a matter of fact, was cancelled in October. That's fact that you've been given. We are looking at WhatsApp messages in April. You say that the message, Buti, please let him say no to that appointment, was sent after he got information that the tender was cancelled. What is being put to you is simply this. At this point of this message, in April, the tender hadn't been cancelled. So it can't be that this message was sent after he heard that the tender has been cancelled. It's that simple. I think you are denying and refusing to comment on the most obvious things because you have taken a particular position that you are not going to be helpful to the commission. And I think that should be expressed to you. You've been carrying on with, I don't remember. Now you say, I can't comment. You must be able to comment. And the comment is, yes, I accept that if the tender was cancelled in October, then in April he could not have been told or heard from anybody that the tender has been cancelled because it hadn't been cancelled. You should be able to accept that. And that you're not doing that is because you are being obstructive and not helping the commission. That's the position you have taken. And I think you need to be reminded your obligation to the commission is to assist and give satisfactory answers. You are not answering satisfactorily when facts are put to you that you are not disputing, and then you say, I cannot comment. I don't know if you want to comment, if you want to say anything. If you do, feel free to do that. But I think you need to be reminded of your obligations as a witness. It is to assist the commission, which so far you haven't been doing. 2, it is to answer satisfactorily. Otherwise, you are committing an offense, and maybe you do need to be reminded of that.
Thank you, Commission. Commission, I would not answer something that I'm not sure of. I will be defeating the same oath that I took. I want to answer to the best of my ability. It is just unfortunate that maybe the Commission would see as in I'm not cooperative to the Commission. I've been answering questions since Monday till today. I'm answering, and I'm answering to the best of my ability. And it is fair for me as well, if I can't remember, I must bring that to the attention of the Commission that I can't remember. If I can't comment, not on the basis that maybe I'm negative or I'm funny. I can't comment because of I don't want to say something that I cannot elaborate further on it. Thank you, Commission.
You see, Sergeant, what has been put to you now is the tender was cancelled in October. That's a fact that is being put to you, right? The second thing that is put to you is that The communication it happens in April at page 935 of the same year, in April. So at the point, what is being put to you for comment is that at the point of this April communication, Mr. Mampani could not have been told that the tender has been cancelled because as a matter of fact, it was not cancelled. How are you not able to comment on that? How are you not able to say, I accept that? Because that is the only answer. It is yes, I accept. If the tender was cancelled in October, then I'm wrong to say in April he would have heard that the tender has been cancelled. And it is that which is making me raise this concern that surely you have to be able to say, yes, I accept that set of facts.
Can I comment on that? Sorry, on that matter, Commissioner, there are two things. I might maybe answered too quickly, or I might have misunderstood the question. But I sincerely apologize to be heard or to be understood as in I'm obstructive in terms of answering the questions.
Now that you have understood what was being put to you, which is the tender was cancelled in October, this communication between you and Mr. Mampani happened in April.
Yes.
Therefore, it cannot be correct, or in fact, let me put it differently. Mr. Mampani would not have been told by April that the tender has been cancelled. Now you understand the question,
That's
right?
correct.
What's your comment to that? Do you accept that?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shaska.
Is my apology accepted that I misunderstood as well?
I do accept your.
Thank you.
But Sergeant, there is another difficulty with that, because if you now accept that the contract couldn't have been that the tender hadn't been cancelled at the time of this exchange, you need to explain why you sent this document to Mr. Mampani when it was a document relating to a tender that was still under consideration.
Chair, can I use the services of the interpreter so that I must just misunderstood and over to the interpreter?
If you accept, as you must, that the tender was only cancelled on 29 October 2025,
Uma uvuma ukuthi itender yakhanselwa ngo-29 October 2025.
then you need to explain why on 30 April 2025,
Kufanele ke uchaze ukuthi
Is
kungani.
your mic not working, Ms. Murray?
It doesn't seem to be working. It seems to alternate with the other one. Kufanele ke uchaze ukuthi kungani wathumela lo mlayezo ngo-April.
you sent him a list of bidders and bid prices
Wamthumela ke uhla noma i-list yama-bid kanye namanani, ama-price.
in relation to a tender that was still being considered by the city.
Maqondana nethenda eyayisabhekwa eyayisahlolwa.
Ngiyakuphikisa lokhu ubaba uShakiliseni akhuluma ngako ngezizathu zokuthi once ngokuqonda kwami ukuthi uma kukhona ithende seyiphumile yavalwa yakhepturwa manje iyakhishwa kuyipublic ukuthi yilaba aba-applyile yilaba abantu kanje understand kwami.
I am in opposition to that because once the tender has been considered and been captured, then it's easy then it's sent out to indicate that fact.
Do you mean it's then available in the public domain, Sergeant?
Ngokuqonda kwami, yebo mphathi.
According to me, that's how I understand it. That it was already in the public domain.
Sergeant, your understanding, if it was your understanding, is simply false, is simply wrong.
Ukuqondisisa kwakho akulona akuqondile. Akulona iqiniso.
Do you have any comment on that?
Ungathanda ukuphawula ngalokho?
Ngime kuloko bengikade ngikushilo.
I still stand by what I've said.
Mr. Chairperson, I'm not sure if it's me who's misunderstanding Sergeant Nkosi. I think what he's saying is that on the day the bid closes, there's a public event where all the submitted bids are opened and the list is then publicized to say, these are the people who've submitted the bids and these are their prizes. So that's how I understood his response. So if you are putting to him that that is not correct as a matter of fact and law, I don't know if that's where you are going. But that's how I understood the answer, and maybe he can just clarify that and then you put your question to him. Sergeant, I'm gonna try in simple English so that you and I understand each other. I understood you to be saying once people have submitted the bids and they are captured, the list is then made public that these are the people who submitted the bids and these are their prizes. Have I understood you correctly?
Kunjalo.
Yes.
Can I take you to page 175?
Same file.
175, because the document that you sent, which appears there, is not a simple list of open bids, or bids that had been submitted and opened. If you go to 175, you'll see that the document is actually an internal Tswane document, the date of which is not clear, but it is dealing with the status of this tender. So at the end of the list, in fact, I'm sorry, I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. Let's look at the document you actually sent Mr. Mampani, not the document. It is the same document that you forwarded to the CFO before sending to him. But go to 993, I'm sorry, I'll take you back to the other file, file 3. And go to page 993. So the document that you're sending him, if you see the last page of the document that you're sending him, it's not just the list. It says 2.1, late bids received if applicable, no late bids received. Pre-compliance. The following 435 bidders were evaluated on pre-compliance. Disqualification due to non-registration on CST. The National Treasury, and on it goes. So this is not a simple public document that is the document that is issued when bids are opened after the closing date so everyone knows who the bidders are. This is an extract from an internal Tswane adjudicatory process relating to the bids. It's not a public document.
Interpreter?
Let document I-document yangaphakathi evela kwi-committee adjudication akuyona i-document ekhishelwe ngaphandle kumphakathi wonke ukuthi wazi ngayo.
Cha.
No.
On what basis do you say no?
Ukusho ngasiphi isizathu lokho sokuthi ukuthi cha.
Ngoku-understanda kwami ukuthi ithenda masivaliwe ube nezinkampani ezi-applyile or ezifaka isicelo zokusebenza.
According to me, is that once the tender is closed and the names of the companies that had applied are then ungaqhubeka.
Ukuthi izinkampani esezi-applyiwe ziya-capture esystemini. Maqeda uku-capture bese bayazikhipha kwi-public babone ukuthi
The names of the companies that had tendered, once they've been captured in the system, they are then issued out to the public.
But this is not the document that is issued out to the public. If you can go back to page 993.
Kodwa ke le document akuyona le document esikhishwele ngaphandle ekhishwele ngaphandle ukuthi yaziswe wonke umuntu mawubheka la ekhasini ka 993.
If you look at, it says 3, pre-compliance. The following 435 bidders were evaluated on pre-compliance. Evaluation on pre-compliance happens only after the unsealing of bids and public notification of who the bidders are. So this document is a document that is prepared long after and is reflecting an internal process of tender adjudication.
Le document yangaphakathi ekhishwa ngaphakathi ngemuva kokuthi ke inqubo noma iprocess ya adjudication isiyenziwe kodwa idocument yangaphakathi.
ngisame lapho ngikade ngokushilo ekuqaleni.
I'm still standing there. Excuse the interpreter. I'm not sure I'm understanding the response from the witness.
Ngisame kuloko engikuphendulile.
I'm still standing by what I've answered.
How did you get this document?
Ngabe wayithola kanjani le document?
Angisakhumbuli kahle ukuthi ngayithola kanje.
I do not remember how I obtained this document.
Well, how you got it, you will see on page 932.
Indlela wayithola ngayo uzobheka ku page 932. 932.
You got it from the general. You got it from the general on the 30th of April at 11:56. I take that back, sorry, I take that back. You sent it to the general on 932. I withdraw that.
You say general, this page is Mampane.
Sorry, I have lost my track on this one. Let me get the correct reference, because you did in fact get it from the general, if I recall correctly.
Once you do that, let me let's put this to the surgeon. Surgeon, at page 989 and 992, those pages, all of them actually, from where this document starts, it seems from the heading of the document that it is an internal document because the name of the document is TMPD 0324.25 draft admin R. I'm assuming it will be report or whatever the complete name is, but it is a draft document. So it's unlikely that this document would have been, that's a further indication that it's unlikely that it would have been in the public domain because it's a draft document of the city. Can you see what I'm pointing out to?
Is 99?
You can pick any one of those. So I'm at page 988 randomly. But from wherever that long list of 435, I think, 435. So any one page that has this list of beds, the heading of it is the same. It's TMPD 032425 draft admin and then R, and I'm assuming it's report. But the important part that I'm drawing to your attention is it's a draft document by its heading, so it's unlikely that this document was in the public domain. The mic.
Mic is off.
Uma sibheka le document esihloko sayo sikhombisa ukuthi draft kuyabonisa ukuthi idocument yangaphakathi akuyona idocument esikhishelwe ngaphandle ikhishwela uwonke wonke.
Ngenhlonipho ngisame khona lapho.
I apologize, I still stand by what I said.
You are misinterpreting.
Please repeat what you said, Sergeant Nkosi.
Ngithi ngenhlonipho kwinkomishana ngisame kuloko bekade ngikusho.
You apologize that you still stand.
Respectfully, either respectfully or with respect, I stand by what I said earlier.
With respect, I still stand by what I said.
Well, I now have found the reference to where you got it from the general. That's on page 518, on the 25th of March.
File 2.
File 2,
518.
518.
Ukuthi le document wayitholaphi ku 518.
Uthi page bani?
18.
Yeah, file 2.
Is that file 2, Sergeant
Yes,
Nkosi?
yes. Sorry,
And
I
have
did
you,
not confirm.
have you
It's
found
file
page 518?
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
all right.
So you received it from the general on the 25th of March.
Ngomhla ka 25 ka March le document wayithola ivela ku general.
Ngiyayibona.
I can see that.
Why did the general send it to you? Had you asked for it?
Kungani u general wayithumela kwele document ngabe wayicela?
angeke ngikhumbule kahle ukuthi ngayicela or kanjani mara ngiyayivuma ukuthi ngayisendelwa uye.
I cannot recall if I asked for it or how it came about, but I do agree that this was sent to me by the general.
And a few days after you received it from the general, not a few days, a few hours, you forwarded it to Mr. Nkosi. That we see on page 158.
Emva kwehora nje noma amahora ambalwa uyitholile wayithumela ke kuMr. Nkosi.
That is what?
58, file 1.
Okay. I confirm.
Why would you forward it to the CFO?
I really can't remember.
That's all in March. And a full month later, you forwarded it to Mr. Mampani on page 932. And when he receives it after a conversation or some calls with you, he says, Booty, please let him say no to that appointment, please. And you still can't remember why he said that.
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Mampani was the right-hand man of the late Mr. Msibi. Is that not correct? Was that your testimony on Wednesday? In April 2025, what was his relationship with Mr. Sibanyoni like? Did they have a good relationship or a bad relationship?
In April,
April 2025.
I would not know, but I know that they are not friends. They are not talking.
They're not friends today. Today, we're talking, when you say they're not friends.
If I understood you correctly, you said relationship with Mr. Mampane?
And Mr. Sibanyoni.
Yes. No, they are not friends.
They're not friends.
Yes.
And you don't know whether Mr. Mampani had a security company that was already providing ad hoc services to the city or not?
Yes.
You don't know or you do know?
I don't know.
You see, what would happen if an appointment was not made on this contract is the existing bidders, the existing contractors, would stay in position until a new contract was appointed pursuant to a new tender process. You accept that?
Interpreter?
Uyavuma ukuthi le contract uba yayisasebenza Sorry, I think I'm getting my, if you could repeat the question.
If an appointment was not made in terms of this tender,
I-appointment yayingenziwanga ngale tender.
then
Call-
the existing service providers
Can you repeat that question so that maybe my interpreter can hear it correctly? Because I think another misunderstanding between
It-
you and her.
The interpretation was accurate, Sergeant Nkosi.
But can you repeat again? Sorry, commissioners.
if an appointment was not made in terms of this tender,
Uma kwakungaqashwanga noma i-appointment yayingenziwanga maqondana nale tender.
then the existing suppliers
Ngakho ke laba ama-supplier ayevele ekhona
would remain providing ad hoc security services to the city
ayezoqhubeka nokuthi ahlinzeke ngama-service okwesikhashana kwidolobha kwi-city.
until a new tender process had taken place and a new appointment had been made.
Uma ngabe le kungenziwanga i-appointment entsha.
Babezoqhubeka
Babezoqhubeka.
kuze kube ne-appointment entsha.
Yeah, my interpreter is, okay, I think we should proceed, Mara. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi umama ehambi yamlahlekela endleleni. So the reason ukuthi ngithi ngicela i-interpreter ngoba ngifuna ukuphendula to the best of my ability. So manje makuba namagama awashiya endleleni mina ngophendula base kula magama awafakile kanti bekumele ngiphendule kula magama awashiya. Bese impendulo yami kubonakala ngathi ingenye indlela engafuneki ukuthi ngibeke yona. So it's my humble submission that
Here is the simple question, Sergeant Nkosi, that if there's a tender process
yes,
and there was a previous tender before,
yes,
if new service providers are not appointed under the new tender process, it means the previous service providers will continue providing services on a monthly basis
yes.
until a new service provider is appointed.
that is how I understood it. That's not what my honorable interpreted it. So the commission must take note that sometimes there is miscommunication between. In reference to that, I accept that.
See, your problem is you are hearing clearly, and even things that you are hearing clearly, you want to be interpreted. And then you try to correct the interpreter.
No, Commissioner. I'm sorry, ngiyaxolisa mama ukuthi ngibonakala kanjalo. I'm sorry to you, commissioners. You know the reason, commissioners, I don't want to upset Commissioner Baloyi.
Why her?
Because
I'm asking the question, why her? She's quiet.
yes, you know, before I answer, I must think of her first. That what is coming next? So with due respect, not in a bad way. So I want to ask that to the best of their ability, that indeed I want to answer. So that is the reason I'm very cautious when my interpreter interprets, so that the next word now I must look this side and this side. Then I don't want that again.
I think it's a good idea not to upset me.
No.
Mr. Chasolsi?
So if you were an existing service provider,
Uma ubumuntu obuhlinzeka ngale ma-service okhona okwamanje.
you would have an interest in not having the new tender result in a new appointment.
Ubuzokuthakazela wena uma umuntu okulected okuleso provide le service ohlinzeka ngale service okwamanje ukuthi kungabi nenye itender ebakhona entsha engenayo uthanda ukuthi isimo sihlale singaleso simo ukuthi kungabi nenye itender engenayo uma ngabe usaqhubeka nokwenza lo msebenzi.
Do you see that? Do you accept that?
Kunjalo.
Yes, it is so.
And if you were a bidder for tender 3 of 24-25, like you say Mr. Mampani was,
Uma ngabe ke njengokulesi simo sika Mr. Mampane ubuzofuna lesi simo sihlale sinjalo.
and you saw a list of all the bidders and all their prices, and you realized that your price was going to lose,
Kanti ke futhi wabona uhla lamanye amabid akhona kanye namanani ama-price abenzayo wabona ukuthi wena uzoluza.
you would have an even bigger incentive to get tender 3 of 24-25 to a position where no award was made. You would have an even bigger incentive to get tender 3 of 24-20, tender 1 of 24-25 cancelled.
Ubuzoba nokuthakazelela ukuthi leyo tender ka 2024 I'm getting all muddled up, please.
Sorry, I'm particularly disorganized this morning. You would have an even bigger incentive to get this tender with this list of bidders cancelled.
Ubuzothakazela ukuthi le list entsha lama-tender a-cancel.
No, not the list, the tender itself.
The tender itself cancelled, indeed.
Ubuzothakazela ukuthi le tender kwasayona i-cancel.
Angeke ngiphawule kuloko ngoba nginayo itender.
I would not comment on that as I do not have a tender.
Angazi ukuthi maybe mabangangenanga bacabangani or mabangenile bacabangani.
I do not know what would they think, whether they are in or out.
But Mr. Mampani did have a tender, and he asked you to let him say no to that appointment.
Mr. Mampane ke wayenayo leyo tender, wathi wakwazisa wakutshela ukuthi ucela ukuthi bathi cha kule tender entsha.
But you still say you can't remember why he asked you to let him say no to that appointment.
Kodwa usathi wena awazi ukuthi yini eyenza ukuthi akucela ukuthi wena bathi cha kule tender entsha.
Kunjalo.
It is so.
Let's move to a different topic then, or I'm going to move to a different topic unless there are questions from the commissioners. Can we go to page 532?
File.
532. File 2.
I'm pressed, can I?
Yes, Sergeant. The usual.
I'm pressed. Not the usual.
Let's adjourn.
Sorry, Commissioner.